How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Set 6, and today we're going to be taking a look at the latest trailer for Expedition 33 Clair Obscur, which, it looks crazy. It actually looks crazy. Now, if you missed the previous information about it, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, I'm just going to call it Expedition 33 from here on, is a game that's being made by Sandfall Interactive. And the basic gist of it is that there's a being known as the Paintress who paints each year, painting a number, and when she paints that number, everybody of that age disappears. They fade to dust and disappear. And every year, an expedition is sent out to try and stop the Paintress and make sure that she never paints again. And this is Expedition 33, for all the people who are 33 and are going to be in trouble next year. Now, I'm not sure exactly how it goes, but on the website, there is a block of text that reads, "Once a year, the Paintress wakes and paints upon her monolith, paints her cursed number, and everyone of that age turns to smoke and fades away. Year by year, that number ticks down, and more of us are erased. Tomorrow, she will wake and paint 33. Tomorrow, we depart on our final mission, destroy the Paintress so she can never paint again. We are Expedition 33. So this is people that are in their final year trying to stop the Paintress. That's the mission. We set off, and we've got a year to get it done, it would seem. But yeah, that's the basic overview of the story. We're going to jump into this trailer now, which gives us a lot more combat information than anything else, and it looks real good. It looks so good. So, don't forget, like the video, subscribe for future content, but let's jump into it. So we see underwater scenery. It seems like we're walking around under the water, which is quite odd. We see Gustav running around. We see this weird red orb at the top of the whale's tail here, and I'm not sure what that's all about. I'm wondering if that's going to be a collectible item that we can pick up, or some sort of power that we can absorb, maybe. Not too sure about that one. But we do find two bodies, and these are seemingly from Expedition 68, going off what Gustav says. And he says that they're from Elodie's expedition. And we don't have any information on who that person is. Maybe there's someone that was famous, maybe it was a special expedition. But Loon points out that Gustav seems to know a lot about the previous expeditions in general. Now, this expedition apparently was blown into the air by a storm, and people assume that it had been destroyed on the continent, but some of them had clearly survived beyond that incident because we see two of them here. Now, at this stage, Gustav and Loon seem to be looking for Maelle, with the weird coral seemingly being part of the directions to find Maelle. We keep pushing through this absolutely stunning underwater region, and we come across an enemy called a Neveron, but seemingly a different species to the ones that the group are used to encountering, possibly an underwater variant of a land-based enemy, or just another variation on the normal underwater species, but either way, they're between us and Maelle. So we begin combat with the enemy, and combat seems to begin with us attacking the enemy, in a similar way to games like Persona, Shin Megami Tensei, Trails of Cold Steel, etc. We attack them and that triggers combat. I would assume they can run into us as well and trigger combat, and I'm going to guess that will decide things like getting the jump on an enemy or getting ambushed by an enemy, things like that. Now we come to the combat screen, and we broke it down in the previous video that we did for this trailer, but there are a few new things and a few bits of additional information that we get. First off, we see some combo work from Gustav, with every second hit in the combo having a timed action to then earn an extra charge, and these charges power up Gustav's arm, which allow him to then do more damage with overdrive. So he gradually charges himself up and then can unleash a big attack, or maybe add damage to an attack. For Loon, she gains things called elemental stains by casting spells, which she can then consume to unleash mayhem. We see these stains appear on Loon's character portrait, but we don't really see mayhem. I'm looking forwards to seeing some mayhem. But we also see that time mechanics apply to spells as well, boosting damage and effects further. That's pretty cool. It's not just on melee attacks, it's on spells. Super cool. Can't remember if we saw a showcase of that in the previous trailer. We probably did and I forgot about it. But either way, it's cool. Now this creature known as a Luster then attacks Gustav, and he can use either R1 to parry or circle to dodge, or on here it's right button and circle because it seems to be done using an Xbox pad. And we see 3 super slick dodges from Gustav, and these also give him charges that he can feed into his overdrive. We see the same towards Loon with her parrying the attacks instead. Now it seems like the challenge for these parries and dodges is going to be very similar to the difficulty for the timed attack mechanics, and it's going to come mainly from like chaotic visuals happening with each attack, be it a camera shift or a large visual effect, something to disorient you a little bit and make it more difficult for you to keep attention on those timed mechanics. So yeah, and it does look in those moments like it gets quite chaotic, and I'm sure when we get into harder fights and things that we're not really going to be able to parry that efficiently, we're going to see a lot of stuff going on around us. We then see Gustav perform a counter, seemingly from landing a perfect parry. I can't be 100% sure of that, but I think that's what it is. I think maybe parrying each of the enemy's attacks gives us a counter, potentially. We'll see something similar to this in a minute. But at the end of combat we see the XP and loot screen, and that gives us details on things like dodges, parries, damage dealt and received, as well as XP, skill progression, possibly on the right hand side, and we'll see something more about that in a second. And then loot that we received, with us receiving a recoat and a chroma catalyst, which both seem to be suggestive of either crafting gear, upgrading skills, something along those lines. But they definitely both give me the suggestion that they're going to be used in crafting. A recoat suggests doing something, changing the coating on something. And a chroma catalyst is going to obviously be a catalyst that causes something to happen to a piece of gear or a skill. But again, guesswork. After combat, we press a bit further into the area and get more of a look at this, like I say, absolutely stunning underwater area, which we seem to be able to just run around in and breathe. So yeah, that's a bit odd. That's a little bit odd. But we continue, and Gustav and Loon stumble across a hut. But then we switch perspective to Maelle, and it seems like we go a little bit further into the game now, because after a minute or two we'll see that Gustav is with Maelle and also Loon is. So we obviously find Maelle. We stumble across a flag from Expedition 48, and then a giant monster drops down in front of us but then just hops away into the distance. And it immediately looks like a bigger version of the Luster enemy that we just fought. Maelle talks about how this area is an outpost of humanity nestled amongst the corals, so it seems like various expeditions kind of use these outposts and follow this path, and it seems like the further we get into the game, we're going to see fewer expeditions because fewer of them will have got to these further locations, or maybe it is a case of standing on the shoulders of your predecessors and each expedition gets a little bit further. Not too sure. We need more details, obviously. But then we get to see some traversal mechanics, with Maelle using like a grappling hook type of thing to get around and explore this area. And the area is laid out on a variety of heights, so it seems like we're going to need the grappling gun to get about. But when we use the grappling gun and we get onto this ledge, we find something called a picto, which seems similar to the skills that we saw on the XP screen. So I would guess that these are equipable skills that can be leveled up, suggesting that there is a decent amount of customization for the team as we press on through the game. And Maelle, Loon and Gustav head into an open area that's quite clearly a boss zone. If you're a gamer, you know what a boss zone looks like, and this is a boss zone, and we swiftly get attacked by the giant creature that we saw a few moments ago. It seems to focus on the flower on the ground, with Loon suggesting that it only attacks when, and then she gets interrupted. But it basically only attacks when someone disturbs the flowers, and we'll get to that in a minute. But we get into combat, and this enemy is called a Goblin, and again, it's seemingly the big brother of the Luster enemy that we fought earlier on. Now we see very much more of the same as from the previous fight, but we see an AoE attack that hits everybody 3 times from the Goblin, and it seems like if we all parry it, if we parry all 3 of these attacks, we get a group reprisal attack on the enemy, a group counter. And that's what we see there, so it does seem like if you block every phase of the enemy's attack or parry every phase of the enemy's attack, you will then get a counter. And yeah, it looks pretty cool. We then see some of Maelle's skills, with the main thing that stands out about her being her stance status, which is set to stanceless at the moment, but then as she attacks and does combos, it switches between defensive and offensive, and it seems like it gives you a lot of options potentially where you can be more aggressive in a fight, or you can cover yourself after an attack and be more reserved in a fight. So I'm very much into that. And we see in this fight, in the final combo that Maelle uses, she starts off stanceless, switches to offensive during the combo, and then at the end of the combo switches to defensive. So yeah, very cool options there. I wonder how much customizability there is in that. Anyway, the fight ends, and Lune says that it's peaceful if we don't interfere with the flowers. But then Gustav points out that it's good to be careful, as it's still a paintress's creation, and we don't know what it's capable of. Maelle, however, seems transfixed by it, walking forwards and reaching out to the creature, and it hovers for a moment, and there is a moment of connection between the Goblu and Maelle, which is strange. But then it hops away and Gustav takes some shots at it, trying to kill it. And Maelle says that the creature felt familiar. And this continues on from the feeling that I had from the previous video, that she's a bit sus. She seems to be put in weird positions of prominence here and there. We see her having a moment where she stood directly in front of the paintress, and I kind of assumed it was a dream in the previous video, and it probably is. But just in general, she was an orphan at the age of 3. She never felt connected with Lumiere or anything like that, which is the town that everyone's from. Yeah. There's something sus about Maelle. Also, she's going on this expedition for no reason whatsoever. She's only 16 years of age, so it's not as if she's 32 and she's going to die next year. So yeah, there's definitely something to Maelle. We need to keep an eye on it, and this just kind of confirms it a little bit more. It kind of makes me think that maybe she is a creation of the paintress in some capacity. But speculation will continue. Also, make sure you check out the other Expedition 33 video where I talk about it a little bit more. It's a good video. You should check it out. Anyway, Lune tells Gustav to basically stop trying to murder everything so that we can actually get some information. And as a Dungeons & Dragons player, I have mixed feelings on this. Yeah, info's good, but, you know, so is murder hoboing. So we'll have to see about that. Anyway, we press on to a village that should be nearby, and the trailer wraps up. And it just shows us a few more shots from the previous trailer, as well as a few extra fights, but it's all stuff that we've already covered in the video as far as I can tell. And that's that. We get another indication that the game's going to be dropping in 2025, and the trailer ends, and again, it's just done nothing but make me more excited for this game and more interested in this game. The combat seems fun, it seems fluid, it seems dynamic, it seems like it's got lots of extra bells and whistles added into it just to make it feel as close to being an action game while still staying true to being a turn-based RPG. And like visually it's stunning, the environments are crazy. I'm just very excited to get as much information as possible in this game. I really hope it's early 2025 that we see it. Obviously, if it's not, it's not. But like the sooner the better. The sooner the better. I'm very interested in this. But that's all we've got time for today. So let me know what you think about this game. Have you watched both of the trailers? Did you spot something in this footage that I missed? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget, like the video, subscribe for future content, and share the video around. Show as many people as possible about this game, especially if you're into your turn-based RPGs. You know, big up the turn-based RPGs. Give this one some love. But yeah, don't forget, do the things, but more importantly than all of that, have a great day.